Mama, I decided to write to you to let you know how I've risen, about the teachings you taught me to master my cooking skills and always dress pretty so that one day a wealthy man will notice me. I often wish the grave clothes would loose their hold on you and God would breathe his breath of life again in you so that you could see what I and many other women have become, unafraid to emanate the light we have within and not just be a shadow of the men who are told to lead. My. You'd be amazed at how the expectations of women are slowly changing. In your day, they told you that womanhood was defined by how well you can cook, how well you can please your husband, and how many babies you can give him. In mine, we've chosen not to let the FE in front of our male determine how loud we can speak in conversation before we hold ourselves back in fear of being told that women are supposed to be soft-spoken and graceful. Mama, I know I could never bring you back, but in honor of you, I've decided to become a part of those who are rewriting history. I pray to God every day that he will grant me both a male and a female child so that I'll teach my daughter, first and foremost, to dream that the sky is definitely not the limit and that marriage is not the ultimate goal of her existence, but that if she does choose to become one with another, submission is expected of her, but submission does not look like oppression. And my son, I'll teach him to dream too. I'll teach him to respect everyone around him, and I'll teach him never to think that the absence of an S in front of his he makes him superior to any she.
That is the S in front of his E by Trésor Yorenda. She is a poet, a speaker, a teacher of the word, and of course a content creator. She's in studio with us this morning. I'm very excited to have her in. When I say content creation, she does some YouTube videos. She's got a channel, and I've got to tell you, I was watching one of the videos and I just cried. Yes, real tears, because the things that she was saying in Tijewa Zinandi Kuza, like it really hit me deep within, in my heart, in my soul. And I thought, wow, what an amazing teacher, and someone that we definitely need to have here on set. Some of you have probably even seen her face in posters, because just recently she was releasing and launching her album. And this is, of course, with her spoken word, and it's called Long Lost Letters. And she is here this morning. I'm very happy. I'm just hoping that I don't cry, because I was like, oh my gosh, but welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
The S in front of his...
He, H-E. So she.
Uh-huh.
Poets. We tend to be complicated. It's really just she.
Tell me a bit about that piece that we just watched.
I like to talk about things that I think a lot of times we don't talk about. Most people in society will not talk about, especially in the African context. We have a hush-hush culture. So things will happen, and whether it's in the family context or just in your community, and you'll be told not to talk about such things. So that piece kind of speaks about that a little bit. I address just some of the things that you will hear the typical African mother telling her child growing up, like focus on, making sure you can cook nsima, or, one day, prepping you for marriage. And so it talks about that, and it talks about it also speaks to the males. So it addresses both females and males. It speaks to the males and tells them to respect the females in their society, and to understand as well that they have a place in respecting the female. Because again, we don't talk about that too much. I think in our society, a lot of times we are raised to the females, prepare yourself for marriage, and then learn to respect your husband, and then what is told to the man. So that's kind of what that piece is about.
Yeah. Well, powerful stuff. I'm hoping that people can just jump onto your Facebook or your YouTube to also get to see more of the work that you've done. The spoken word is very powerful. But before we get deeper into spoken word and other things that you do and the reason why you're here, because I want us to talk about some one of the videos that you did called you said that God has a purpose in suffering, pretty much, or the purpose of suffering, and I want us to talk a bit about that as well, which is going to be my key thing today. But before we get into that, your life has kind of been here, there, everywhere-ish. Where have you grown up? Who are you? Because it's like, Ruth, who is this girl? Tell us more about her.
Okay, so growing up, I grew up here in Lilongwe with my grandmother. For my early years, I grew up with my grandmother because my mom had me when she was really young. Still in college when she had me. So grew up with my grandmother in Lilongwe, went to primary school here in Lilongwe, did some of my high school here as well in Lilongwe, and then finished off my high school in South Africa. At that time, my mom had moved to Lesotho, so I also lived in Lesotho for a little bit, and then did most of my high school in South Africa, and then came back, did my university, and then, yeah, now I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Where did you go to uni here?
Zuni University.
Okay. What did you study?
I studied biomedical science.
Biomedical science. You know, sometimes when you think about people that are into sciences, they're more introvert, not very creative. They like 1 + 1 = 2. Don't confuse me. It is what it is. Black is black, white is white. But when you look at being a creative, it's more gray. Because anything really falls into any place as long as you can explain it. You know, it's like, no, it makes sense to me. How did you end up doing, being such a creative, but also having done sciences?
It's a really good question. It's something that I myself have been trying to figure out as I navigate through life. Because like you said, a lot of times you think, well, if I'm into sciences, then it's this one lane. It's this straight and narrow. I'm a science student. I'm a geek. Or I'm introverted. I'm either in the hospital or in the lab or whatever area of science that you're doing. And then if you're a creative, then that's like on the other spectrum of things. But interestingly enough, I found somehow that they can blend. I think one of the key things for me was discovering just that my personality type. So I realized that I'm not introverted, I'm not extroverted, I'm in the middle, I'm an ambivert, which means that I can lend to both. So I have my super, creative extroverted moments where I'm excited to interact with the world, but a lot of times I'm really just within myself as well. So I think key was, first of all, understanding what is my personality type, and then the other things, really the career path or the interests, all of those kind of just are figuring themselves out as well, in terms of I do have a passion for sciences, I do have a passion for medicine, but I also have a passion for poetry and all things creative, really, all types of art. So, yeah.
One of the things that you came out for when I actually got to notice you, my sister was telling me, Ruth, I've known about her for a bit. I follow her on I think it's Instagram or something, but she's known about you. But I got to know more about you recently when you were launching and Long Lost Letters. Tell me about that.
Where do I start? I would never have imagined, if you had told me, I don't know, even 2 years ago, that I would release an album someday or have an event, I would have laughed because I was not your girl. I was not the person who was going to do that. I used to be very shy. I used to be very kept to myself.
Were you already doing your YouTube videos at the time?
No. No. So that, again, even YouTube, I never thought I would do YouTube.
Yeah.
So even with the album, I really didn't see it coming. It's a collection of pieces that I wrote a long time ago, some newer ones as well, and just I merged all of those into one project. So in the times that I was writing those pieces, I wasn't writing them with an album in mind.
Yeah. So
sometimes as creatives, obviously, you go into it knowing I want to release this project, and so you start creating for that project. Yes. That's not how Long Lost Letters was birthed at all. I think beautifully embodies just my journey through discovering poetry, through embracing spoken word as a gift that I do have, because for a long time it wasn't something that I embraced. It wasn't something that I wanted to do at all. Always wanted to be a singer. I thought being a singer is cool. Yeah, so that's really what Long Lost Letters is about. It really just embodies my journey in poetry. So you will hear, just as you listen to the different pieces that are in that project, it's really just a bunch of different topics that I address. It also has quite a large infusion of music, because I love music.
Of course.
So yeah, that's Long Lost Letters in a nutshell.
For those that know you, of course, and those that don't, some fun fact about your life is that the famous David Galilani is your dad, and or shall we say stepdad, because as you say, your mom had you pretty early, but he and your mom got married, and there's a whole baby now, and you're like big sis. You were the only child for a while, for too long, and now you're big sissing, which is really nice. What impact do you think he may have had on you in terms of getting out of just writing and then coming into a space where, okay, let me get this word out there?
I'm trying to contain my emotions, really, because it's emotional for me. He's played a large role. I think I wouldn't even be able to fully express it in words in terms of like how much he has been so instrumental in me becoming who I am, in terms of just who I am. So if I take it way back in terms of just introducing me to spoken word, I didn't know about spoken word before him.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
I started writing because I used to be a part of a cell group that he used to have in Area 15. And we used to go, and when it was coming to an end, we were all kind of told to do something for the last day, say something, or there were a lot of musicians there, KBG, Lawi, so people were doing different things on the final, like our last meeting.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? I'm the shy girl. I don't have anything to do. But somehow a poem came to mind, and I wrote my first poem. And after I did that, he showed me a video of Genetics. Now, this was before my parents got married. So Genetics is a really well-known poet, American poet. That was my first time ever seeing anything like that. I didn't know spoken word existed.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I didn't know who Genetics was. So he introduced me to her, and she became like my role model in terms of poetry, the way that she delivers what she does. For me, it's amazing. So she was my first introduction to spoken word. So if I take it from the roots, he introduced me to spoken word. Now, if I fast forward to Long Lost Letters, he pushed me into putting this album out. I didn't, like I said, I never would have imagined myself being a recording artist. And a lot of even just the stages that I've been on, it's been him. Like, I think you can do this. Like, I believe in you. Like, I see this in you. And this is the caliber of the person that I believe you are. And most of the times, I just be like, I don't see that.
Well, he sees
I don't know what you see, but I don't see that. So he's played a large role. Even in putting together this project, he's been the one. I mean, I would do my part. I would lay, my verses, and then he would be the one spending sleepless nights making sure that the production work is done, making sure that it all comes together. So he's played a very, very instrumental role.
My gosh. Even I'm getting emotional. I've had some interactions with your dad that have been quite life-changing as well. So let's take a break before I cry too.
The year is 2019. The city, Wuhan. The name they give it, SARS-CoV-2. The people affected, one man, boys and girls, hundreds and then thousands, fathers and mothers, presidents, thousands upon thousands, and then you and me. Can someone tell me, what is this disease spreading itself across the universe one droplet at a time? How is it that the talk of our tongue has become flatten the curve, sambani manja, valani mask, PCR, RAT, social distance? Can we advocate for the other pandemic at hand? Corrupt politicians amassing riches for themselves under the guise of COVID-19 relief funds, atrocities in homes, rape cases tripling in number at the establishment of work from home, hybrid and isolation policies, policies. Individuals robbed their right of choice when the only access into workplace is dependent on the production of vaccination certificates. Can you not see headaches and fevers are not the only symptoms beckoning to be subdued? So, yes, let's isolate and vaccinate. Yes, let's wash our hands. And yes, please maintain your social distance. But no, we will not remain silent about the demons waging war and having field days at the expense of this pandemic. No, we will not be distracted. We will not be deceived. We will march. We will rally behind scientists working tirelessly to restore our understanding of new variants and disease. We will be responsible citizens, aware and mindful of both the visible and the invisible COVID-19 pandemic.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, Humanity is the name of the program. Trésor. I keep wondering if I'm saying it right.
You are saying it right.
It's French, everyone. I was asking her, what does your name mean? She said,
Treasure.
Treasure. Fantastic. Yeah, Treasure. So welcome, Treasure.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing a bit about your story, where you've been. And I was taking an abrupt break because I needed to grab some tissue. I said I was going to cry during this recording. Not that I wanted to. But yeah, I saw it coming anyways. And your spoken word and poetry generally and arts have an impact that they could make positively for social change and to speak to different issues. And with the video that we saw there, in as much as we were speaking about COVID-19, you were also speaking to issues of corruption. That's scary, you know, like a young person coming up, you're speaking on something that was really just a pandemic that the world was going through, but then you also brought about some issues that we face on a daily, especially here in Malawi. We're fighting against corruption and around the world as well. But I thought, wow, that's really powerful that you decided to do that. But speaking about COVID, there is it's now going to take us to what I really wanted us to talk about as well, the issue of suffering. There was a lot of suffering during that time, people losing their loved ones. Mentally, there was a lot going on. I mean, GBV cases went up the roof in that time. Some people were laid off their jobs. Things just were not as they were. Life really changed for a lot of people. And suffering is not, I think, in the context of COVID, that wasn't the first time that as a people we go through suffering. Every single individual goes through suffering. It's either you're entering into it, you're coming out of it, or you're waiting to enter into a time of suffering. But in one of your videos, you talk about God's purpose in suffering. What does that mean? What kind of purpose is there in pain?
It's a very good question, and I think definitely a tricky topic to tackle because, like you said, there could be so many people watching this video who are currently experiencing suffering. And one thing I've definitely learned is you can either come out of what you're going through stronger, closer to God, or you can come out completely the opposite way. You can come out thinking, well, if God was really there, why did he allow me to go through what I went through? And you can come out of it hating him. You can come out of it either one of those ways. I thank God that by his grace, what I went through really helped me to understand the character of God more, the sovereignty of God more. In that video, I speak about how I don't believe that it was God's original plan. Even, and I don't mean like just in the beginning, I mean even just in our own lives. I don't think it's his original plan that he's like, suffering is, you know, like this is what I want for my child, or this is what I want for this person. They must experience this to get, you know, to get to the ultimate purpose that I have for them. But the Bible does tell us in Romans that all things work together for our good. And so I believe that he does divinely orchestrate certain things that happen in our lives to bring about a greater good. So that's what that video was about. That's what I was talking about, to say after experiencing just some of the many balls that life threw my way, I think I came to a place of, in the moment, in that time, I had I'm angry, I'm depressed, I'm hurt, I don't understand why I'm going through this, but in allowing myself to go through the process, in allowing myself to still remain believing God, to still remain that my life has a purpose, even when it was hard, even when it was not in the foreseeable future that I would get out of what I was experiencing, somehow God still allowed me to go through that and see that, you know what, God, you are still good. Like you still have a purpose in the pain that we experience. So,
Purpose in the pain. You share just there with the line that you said that coming out of a place where you felt like life had no meaning. What was the experience for you at the time that made you feel like, okay, maybe there's really nothing to life itself. There's no actual proper value. Because I think there are different things that start to claim value over what our lives carry. What was it for you?
wow.
In a nutshell, of course. Because one day you're going to have to come back and share fully.
Well, like you're saying, I think as people, we tend to identify ourselves by certain things. So I think for me, a large portion of where I got my identity from was success. So if
Someone's looking at you and they're saying, aren't you like 21? What do you mean by success?
I wish I was 21, Ruth. I really wish I was 21.
Well, you're looking.
No, like we identify ourselves with certain things, and for me it was success. I always wanted to be the perfect child, the one that doesn't cause any issues at home. I wanted to be the A student. Everything about my life, I kind of just wanted it to be perfect. I wanted to be married at 25. I wanted to, I just wanted my life to have the quote-unquote success story. And so going to university and that literally being turned upside down shocked me, because it was like, oh, it seems I don't have my life together. At this stage in my life, I thought that I would have this. I thought that maybe I would have a car. I thought maybe I'd be married. I thought I would be, my what do you call that thing? My transcript would have better grades. But that was not what was going on in my life. I thought financially I would have been stable. So because I had literally identified myself and thought that what makes Trésor is success, like if I'm successful, then I am who I am. When life literally countered that, and I started to experience failure, it really made me I was confused, I was hurt, I was like, okay, so who am I?
And what's the plan? Because the plan was in line with success. What now?
What now?
Yeah.
Who am I? Who am I when I'm failing in class? Who am I when I'm clearly not going to be graduating with a distinction? Who am I when I'm not, quote unquote, making my, family proud? Or just things that I had thought make me who I am. And so I came to a place where I realized, oh, okay, my life is clearly not going in that direction. I'm experiencing my version of suffering or pain. And I just didn't know what to do with that.
Something that you said about pain was that it also causes us to look within ourselves. What is it that we then find when we look in there? That's a scary thing to do.
It really is. It really is. I think, pain and suffering is character building. That's what I've realized. It will build your character. So like I said, it will either make you a much stronger person, or it will make you like way, way, way weaker than you were before you experienced what you experienced. And ultimately, I believe the goal is for you to come out of what you're going through stronger as a person. And that could mean so many things to so many different people. Stronger for you could mean you just know yourself better, and you know how to handle yourself better if that kind of a situation would come into your life again. So really, I think I realized in that moment was like, okay, who am I really when I don't have what I want? Or am I still going to smile at the guard at the door? Am I still going to, go to church on a Sunday when I don't believe right now that God is good? Who am I really? So I had to introspect and really discover for myself, like, who am I? Because it's so easy to think that you know yourself when everything is going well. But when everything is crumbling down, who are you? So that's what I meant when I said that. Like, pain will really cause you to sit down and introspect and really figure out who you really are, minus all these other things that come on top of life.
One of the things that you said is that the pain and the suffering brings us to a place of perfection, and it will establish us and also settle us. I guess it brings about an anchor when you really have to deal with yourself and change some things about yourself and your surrounding. You get anchored.
So true.
And you become better. What of the pain when it comes? How should we deal with suffering?
Man, I definitely don't have the formula for it, right? And we all experience different types of pain. There's no like clear cut, this is the answer, this is how you should experience it. But I will share something that was life-changing for me. During the whole COVID pandemic, I got COVID. And it came at a time when I really did not want it to come. Not that you would want it at any point.
Of course, but it was more inconvenient at that point.
Exactly. I think I was preparing for like a final exam or something like that. So it messed things up for me. But I remember, so I had to go obviously away from campus, and I had to go for the 14 days quarantine thing and be on my own. And I remember my mentor talking to me she said to me, in these days that you'll be away for 14 days, take every day and write down 5 things that you're grateful for. Because in this time, it's so easy for you to just be focused on the fact that, oh my goodness, I have COVID. Oh my goodness, this has set me back in school, or this has set me back in whatever I was pursuing. But take the moment to find things that you're grateful for in that time. And that was hard. The first few days I was like, there's nothing to be grateful about. Like, this sucks. Why am I in this situation? But it built so much tenacity in me. It built muscle in me, because it made me realize that even when you're going through the worst of the worst, you still have something that you can be grateful for. So I think ultimately, if I was to stand somewhere and say to someone, how should you go through it? I would say, go through it with a grateful heart. The Bible tells us to be grateful in all circumstances. That means even when things are going terribly wrong, be
Count
grateful.
It all joy, right? Oh, man. I thank you, and I look forward to having you back here. I think to dive into such issues a bit more. When I watched the video, I said, this girl, what a teacher of the word as well. The time that we're in right now, we're looking beyond ourselves, looking beyond what we have, because money is not doing the trick. We need to look at a higher power that will change things permanently. So I think, let me thank you for the work that you've been doing, for going out, for your spoken word, and of course for your poetry, and for getting out and also sharing on your videos with your YouTube, to actually share your life, your story, and also opening up. That's so big, because it really is a story of hope for someone else when they hear your story personally. So let me thank you for that. How can we find you on Facebook? How can we find you on YouTube?
Before I say that, thank you, Ruth. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for having me. Now, about where you can find me on the socials, It's Trey, like TREYY, on Instagram, Trésor on Facebook, God's Treasure on YouTube.
Fantastic. Yeah, guys, there's God's purpose in our suffering. And I think that's what I wanted us to walk away with today. That you can tell with her story, there was some bits where she thought, am I really going to make it? But at the end of it, you do become better, and it does build muscle. It does build character. And in this time, count it all joy. And remember that all things are working for your good. None of this is to kill you, but it's going to make you stronger. So stay strong and follow this girl on her YouTube and WhatsApp and just everything on her socials. Make sure that you get with her and get her album as well, Long Lost Letters. Once again, Trésor, thank you for joining us. That is poet, speaker, teacher of the word, content creator. Thank you for coming around.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
To everyone at home, I'll see you soon. Have a good one.